Welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for another episode of Closing the Wealth Gap. The one show, maybe the only show, that shows you how to narrow that gap a little bit, maybe even close it some. Because we know what's happening out there. The rich, hey, they're getting richer, and the poor, we know what's happened to them. So let's find out from the man who's coached many of the poor to become in that other category. The man who's always closing the wealth gap and has done so for millions, Tyrone French. Hey, Tyrone, the coach is with us.
Hey, Paul, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. Are you staying dry in the Southern California storm taking place?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of rains. The song says it never rains in California, but when it does, man, it wreaks havoc.
It does. It causes havoc.
Everything, even radio shows.
It does, exactly here. Well, I'll tell you what's causing a storm is your last shows here. We've had such a deluge of comments and people saying, oh, my goodness, finally someone's talking about the reality here, the problems that we're all facing here, and giving us some real-world solutions to it. You're going to give us another one today here, I'm told.
Well, I tell you, I appreciate our listeners. I love them dearly, and I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to inform, and, you know, if it ever gets to that point where it becomes commercial or, you know, anything like that, I'd walk away from it. Because, you know, there's so many people out there that have misinformation or just have no information.
Yeah, right.
And it's so easy. But like we talk about, what's easy to do is easy not to do.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, today I want to talk about the business of the 21st century.
And this isn't just your opinion. This is Robert Kiyosaki in his book said that, didn't he? Robert
Kiyosaki wrote a book called The Business of the 21st Century. And basically what he's talking about is network marketing.
Yeah, you know, and that has such a bad reputation. I'm sorry to say. The everyman in me says, oh, it's multi-level, it's just Amway. And I guess people have made tons of money in Amway. I'm not trying to slam Amway, but, you know, I'm going to buy a bunch of products and they're going to sit in my garage and nothing's going to happen here.
And here's the thing, though. The reason that he wrote that book, and the reason that I love that book and I read it over and over and over again is because the operative word in network marketing is network.
Okay.
And what you're doing is you're literally building a network. You're building an income producing asset. You're building something that's going to have recurring income for weeks, for months, for years, for decades, and something that you can literally pass down to the next generation. The problem with network marketing is a lot of people come into this business and they still have the mentality of an employee.
Yeah, right. I'm working for money. I trade time for money.
Yes, trading time for money. That is not what network marketing is all about. But I tell you what, we got a guest today. Her name is Dawn Marie. Dawn Marie has a fascinating story. And the reason I brought her on is because even this week, there was a alarming statistic about the pandemic and what's happening to female business owners.
Yeah, I read the same statistic. I don't remember the exact number, but it's disproportionately hitting women because, hey, honey, one of us got to stay home and take care of the kids. I guess it's you.
Absolutely. And the unemployment rate for women is skyrocketing right now. So Paul, take a look at the longevity effect of this. If women are losing their businesses, they're losing their livelihoods.
Right.
They're also losing their employment, which actually affects their Social Securities, because now they got less money going into Social Security.
Right.
A lot of women, they're losing their businesses, they're losing their livelihoods. So they're tapping into their 401ks and they're tapping into their retirements. So that's money that's not going to be there later on.
Right.
And here's another thing. COVID strikes men as far as a mortality rate.
Yeah.
Is higher for men than women.
Yeah,
so guess what?
True.
They're losing their husbands as well.
Their husbands too. Oh boy.
So it's a perfect storm. So
well, that's how these wealth gaps emerge. That's what we keep talking about. They say, how did this happen to me here? There's some reasons. There's some rationale. You got to look at the big picture once in a while. But that's hard to do when you're deep in the weeds. You're trying to make ends meet for this week, this month.
So guess what? We're bringing on our special guest, Dawn Marie. She's a visionary. She's seen this coming years ago, and she prepared herself, and she has a fantastic story. I'm going to bring her on right now. Don, are you there?
Come in, Dawn.
Well, hello there.
There she is. She wasn't sure.
Hey, Don, how you doing?
After my attack on network marketing, she wasn't sure she wanted to come on here. She was like, I don't know if I want to talk to this guy here.
Had to
Hey, Don,
quickly dial
Don,
back
I tell you what,
in.
I built you up a little bit, but I want you to just, tell us your story, because you have a fascinating story, and I would do it. I couldn't do it. So just, take a few minutes. Tell us your story. What got you started in the network marketing arena?
So first off, I was Miss Corporate America for 25 years, climbing that corporate ladder and always excelling. And one of the things he says in this book is that when you become an achiever, the minute you choose to become an achiever in corporate America, you become a threat to everybody else, including your boss. So did that for 25 years, wasn't really excited about the view I was seeing climbing that corporate ladder, because I was seeing the rear side of someone else in front of me. And then the crash happened in 2008, and I got laid off. And looking back now, that was my saving grace.
Wow.
I was not prepared to become self-employed, but I stepped into it. And I became self-employed and did that for 7 years, and it took off. It was personal development. It took off. I was making over 6 figures, and everything was well.
Don.
But what I learned
you just glossed over something that's amazing, that a lot of women, when they heard that, they couldn't believe it. So I want you to repeat this.
Yeah.
You said you made over 6 figures. First, you went from oh my God, what am I going to do, to making 6 figures?
Yeah. And in corporate America, my glass ceiling was $60,000, and so I got all these fancy titles, but the salary never came. And so then when I became self-employed, it was just like I was at the right place at the right time. I always call it divine timing, and things just started happening. And it was perfect timing for me to step into the realm that I was doing alternative wellness. So did that, but what I realized, and what many people realize when they become self-employed, is yes, you have freedom, but you are still working for a boss. Instead of one, it's many. Mm-hmm. And if you don't work, you don't get paid, and you don't get time off. And so self-employment is a lure. That's great. It's a step in the right direction. But for many people, it's work till you die.
Yeah.
And then in 2016, during the election, I think everyone was kind of worried about, should I buy, should I sell? So it was like there was a lull. And my income in self-employment went down really, really low. And, in self-employment, there's a feast or famine. You're used to the ebbs and flow, exactly. But this stayed down. And long story short, I opened myself up to being open to building a network and going in a different direction with entrepreneurial, and that was 4 years ago. And so I've been doing that now, and that has been amazing for me.
Well, the operative word that you chose to use was building a network. And I think a lot of people don't understand as far as network marketing, that you're building that network. And Robert Kiyosaki has this quote. He said, wealthy people build networks and everybody else look for work.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is that they're conditioned to trade time for money. And when they get into network marketing, which I don't even like that term anymore, I want to start using the term network building. Because when you think about the Channel 7 or NBC, they're building networks.
Yeah, here at OC Talk Radio, we have a network of shows that we build an audience from. Yeah,
absolutely. And so once you build that network, let's say if you have sponsors now, the network is built, and now you got these sponsors coming in. That's actually contributing to the longevity of your network. So,
but Tyrone, I got to stop you. Dawn, come on. Most people don't have a network. They have a couple of friends, a couple of family, and that was always the illusion that somehow, a million years ago, my mother tried to sell Fuller Brush, and all it did is my dad had to buy all the stuff, and then she was pestering the neighbors to buy stuff, and she sold a little bit, and the whole thing fell apart. I think we had Combs till I was in college. Isn't that the difficulty? Do we all have a network?
Not at all, because I think that you're not realizing the network that you have a bigger circle of influence than you think you have. Now with social media, everyone has huge networks. And there's first connections, second connections, third connections. That means that you have connections or possibilities from people that you know. But the average person, if you go through their contact list on their telephone, most people have over 500 contacts on their phone, and many people have over 2,000, over 3,000. And so the networking, it's all about, this is a day and age of the network. It's about circles of influence, and like Tyrone was talking about, the wealthiest people on the planet have the biggest networkers. Think of celebrity endorsements and networks, like you were saying, the television networks. It's all about networking.
They got millions of followers.
Let me share this with the audience because they don't know this. But Don and I met via a network called LinkedIn.
What?
Now, I didn't know Don. Don didn't know me. I have over 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, but I also have about 2.4 million connections. And Don was one of those 2.4 million connections.
Right, the second level, the third level. Yeah, right.
At the right time, at the right place, with the right solution. And we've been friends and business associates ever since.
Amazing.
So what she's saying is extremely powerful as far as people, they don't understand. Like, going back to that narrative, years ago when the car first came out, people had to literally stand in front of the car with a crank to crank it up.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You don't do that now. But,
No.
but people, they think about networking, and they think about what they did 30, 40 years ago. And it's just not the same anymore. It's so much easier.
You make a point. Most of us have rather large social media followings. I don't know if I have 30,000, but I've got thousands, and most people I know have thousands of people. They've cultivated these social media connections. We're more active and involved. We're at the church. We're at the school. We're not just in our neighborhoods anymore. We've got friends that, and the network, as I understand what you're saying, isn't just your immediate circle of friends or influence. It's the friends and people that they're connected to as well, right?
And Don, I want you to jump in here, but again, it's right. It's not the person that you know, and it's not even the person that they know. It's the person that's down the line that somebody else knows that you would never have had. You would have never had a relationship or even contact with this person. Exactly. It's almost like the Kevin Bacon scenario.
Yeah, 6 degrees of separation. If you really
absolutely
you play this game, and he knows this person, and this person knew this person, and this person went to school with this person, and pretty soon you find out, oh my God, we're all 6 degrees of separation here.
And remember this thing a long time ago? Matter of fact, there's a commercial out.
It's finding that special interest too. It's not just whatever your special interest is. You find groups and you find people.
Yeah.
So I would just want to say, because saying an influencer or the word circle of influence for the average woman or anybody that doesn't get out much, especially during COVID, may feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do that.
Yeah, right.
But it all starts with just spending some time being dedicated to your social media and reaching out to make new connections based on whatever your genuine special interest is. I have a bearded dragon. So I'm in a ton of bearded dragon groups, and guess what? Some of those people are going to want to know about what I do for my profession.
A spirited dragon? What's a spirited dragon?
Oh, bearded. Bearded dragon. It's like a lizard.
Oh, I've seen them, at pet shows and stuff. You have a bearded dragon? You have one of these that you raise?
Well, we won't go up on that, but yes, I inherited it.
Goodness.
So
hey, Paul, but I tell you what, because we got a limited time here, and I want Don to stay laser focused on this topic.
I just had to ask. That was too
timing. The timing of what Don is bringing to the table is so crucial.
Right.
Remember, people they poo-pooed on work at home.
Yeah.
Programs.
Oh yeah.
Nobody wanted to work at home, and
No.
it was almost like it was less than. You didn't have a real job. Well, fast forward today, people that's working in Fortune 40 companies now are working from home.
All over the place, yeah.
It's the new norm.
Yeah.
So, Don, I want you to explain why it is, why you got involved with network building, And I want you to take a few minutes to explain to me or explain to the audience as far as having that niche and finding that perfect system that you think not only did it help you, but you think it could help a ton of people that's listening today.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me first say, in 2008, when I did get laid off, that was during the crash, and I was wiped out. And so that created an urgency to make sure this never happens to me and it never happens to other people, because many are in normalcy bias, meaning they just believe everything's going to stay the same and everything's going to be good.
Right.
Now, we saw come 2020, COVID hit, and things are not normal, and things are not staying the same, and we have a new normal. And for those that already have prepared or can adjust quickly and pivot, then you're going to be okay. And that's what I'm here to teach you, is that come as you are and let's pivot, because it's really, really important. And what that means is being able to understand that you don't have to do the 9 to 5. You could become an entrepreneur and put the hours in that you want to put in on whatever the vehicle is. My vehicle of choice was the natural match for me was gold and silver, because it's a hard asset. And when we're going through economic issues, the dollar continues to devalue.
Right.
And I don't want to get into big words, but that simply means that everything's going to start getting more expensive, and everyone doesn't have any income coming in. So it gets harder and harder for people to make ends meet. So if you have gold and silver, it's a completely different ball game. You have a hard asset that's going up in value during a bad economy. So as I am passionate about, I don't want to ever see anything happen to anyone, that I don't want them to go through what I ever had to go through, then let's just share the message. And it's not coming from a sales pitch. It's coming from a deep, passionate desire, so then people realize. And many times they're not ready for it. They're not ready to hear the message.
Don,
I tell you what, let me jump in here, Paul.
Okay.
Because gold and silver, again, the name of this show is Closing the Wealth Gap. And we're all about generational wealth. And the reason is really important for our listeners to understand why they need to have precious metals like gold and silver as a part of their portfolio. I call it currency insurance, because what you're literally doing is you're ensuring your purchasing power for the future. And let me give you an example. Back in the 1960s, 70s, you can buy a bag of potato chips for a nickel, and you get a full bag of potato chips. Remember that, Paul?
I do. Now it's full of air.
Fast forward today, that same bag of potato chips may cost you 99 cents. You only get a quarter bag.
Yeah, the rest of it's puffed up air.
The rest, so you're buying puffed up air, and you got to look at what's happening in today's economy as far as the stimulus and these relief packages.
I'm buying puffed up currency, huh?
The more money, the more currency that they flood into the market, that money is being watered down, is being devalued. So in the future, what you bought today for $1 is going to cost way more than $1. So the reason that you have precious metals like gold and silver is because it offsets monetary devaluation. It maintains its value. And the reason that a lot of people that they spent 20, 30 years on a job, they retired and they find themselves having to go back to work, is because even though back 20 or 30 years ago, they thought they would have had enough money to retire. But fast forward, they don't have enough income. They don't have enough cash flow. So now they have to supplement their income by going back to work and, again, trading time for money instead of making sure that they had something that was going to maintain its value.
My dad had to do that late in life. My dad was a corporate executive for Chrysler Corporation. He thought, oh, my goodness, I worked for the company for 40 years. I'm all set. And when he retired in the 1970s, we, of course, saw the oil spike and inflation and Jimmy Carter years and everything else. And the little bit of money that he had, which he thought was going to carry him through life, wasn't enough.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, the inflation and the cost rose. When he retired, you could buy a car. You could buy a house for $30,000. You could buy a car for $1,000, And I don't think my dad, as a top executive at Chrysler in the 60s and early 70s, I don't think he ever made up more than $50,000 a year. That was big money back then. but
Exactly,
wasn't enough when he retired on that salary. It wasn't enough to carry him into the next 40 years. He also didn't know he was going to live to be 90.
Right, exactly. So, Don,
and that's why the networking is so important, because instead of working for someone, you're creating a network. And what we didn't mention is when you're creating that network, then the network works for you. Instead of you working for yourself and having many bosses, you have a network that's creating residual income. So no matter how life interrupts, you're covered. And I just wanted to mention, during COVID, during 2008, I found out that a lot of people were not affected by it. Not everybody went through a bad scenario. And so now in 2020, I realized I had prepared myself. I placed everything in order in 2016 to create that network. I didn't miss one check in 2020.
There you go.
And I was fine this whole last year.
So
so that's the big push.
Let me ask you a couple of everyman questions here. I'll be the doubting Thomas in the room here. And because I know you're both very enthusiastic about it, and I understand why. How can you explain network marketing to me in just 60 seconds? Because the general perception is I buy into a franchise or something, or a network marketing situation, a multi-level marketing company here, whatever they're marketing. You're saying gold and silver, but it could be anything. And then I I recruit other people under me, and I get a percentage of everybody that comes in under me. So theoretically, all those people behind me are generating revenue. But if we're all just recruiting, nobody's generating any income for anybody. We're just recruiting. Talk about that.
No. So think of if you had your own hamburger stand and you were just one hamburger stand,
right,
and that was all the income you were producing, versus a McDonald's. Now you become a McDonald's and you have a structure. And now you have many locations doing the same thing, and you're training the people to continue to duplicate what you've done. And the franchises continue to grow, and everyone's doing the same system. And so as we go through the system, first we're always going to be talking and sharing. But as we do this process, we become leaders. And we teach the people how to do it, and we step into new roles, and we stretch ourselves. And so it's a huge industry, and it continues to build the income. And this is an industry where there are no caps. It doesn't matter what your gender is. It doesn't matter what your education is. It doesn't matter what
that's a key. That really is. Yeah.
You've made in the past.
There's nobody saying you can't do this.
It's a leveling field.
Right. There's nobody saying you can't do this because of your race, creed, or color, or your education, or your man, woman, child, anything, whatever. You're making
disabled. You're
disabled.
A felon.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't matter what the bad choices were in the past. You're working from home, and during COVID, like all of us that were working from home, even before COVID, I'm rolling out of bed in my pajamas, and I'm making really good money, enjoying my time at home.
And here's the thing, though, because you've been trained. You've been taught a system, and what you're doing is you're letting that system work for you. The problem with dealing with it's a mentality. It's a false narrative where people think that they're going to build a network, and all of a sudden they're going to start making $10,000-$20,000 a month
and not have to do anything other. I'm just going to sit at home and collect the money.
So look at it like this: when I first joined the military, they didn't just send me to the fleet. The first thing I had to do was go through a basic training.
Yeah, right.
When you get a job, they don't just put you,
on the line. Right.
You go through a training process.
Right.
And so what I tell people is like, if you're going to start a business, and Robert Kiyosaki talks about, being a lot of people are on the E and the S side, which they're employees and self-employed, transferring over to the BI side, which is a business owner and investor. You got to give yourself time to absorb this information, giving yourself time to learn. But I want you to think about this. At the same time that you're learning, you could literally be getting paid to build your network.
What?
Yeah, while you're learning how to become a business owner and an investor, you're getting paid to do it. And here's the thing. Most of the time when you're investing and you're just starting, a lot of these expenses that you're incurring are tax deductible.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So now you're turning your car into a part of your business, your cell phone, things that you just bought and you took for granted. Now, because they're associated with your business, you can literally write those things off. Even having lunch with a friend.
We're coming to the end of our time here. You've got me intrigued. How do they find out more about the specific? Because you're dealing with one specific network marketing opportunity, right, Don? Which has something to do with gold and silver. Let's give you a little quick shout out for what you're doing, and maybe people can find out more about that opportunity or networking in general.
Yes, and just let me. I'll keep it short. So with the gold and silver, as Robert Kiyosaki says, we're trying to get to the right side of the quadrant where it's big business and investing. And so with the gold and silver, we teach you both. And my website is called Bullion-S. So
Bullion-S, not billion, not bullion, like gold bullion-S. Okay, that's cute.
Yes, exactly. So that's my brand. So think of the word lioness because I'm a Leo. So lioness. And then just add a B-U-L in front of it. It's a play on bullion and a play on lioness. So Bullion-S.com. And that will show you some great information about network building and as well the gold and silver program.
But what did you know about gold and silver before you started this? Don't I have to have some deep understanding of all these commodities or all these products I'm going to sell here?
I had never even bought silver before in my life. I knew it was important, saw all the commercials, thought it was a $25,000 investment, thought it was out of my league, and yet it is. You got $20, we can make it happen. We're going to show the average person how they can get the best price for gold and silver, and if you choose to, you can create an additional income stream. That's going to blow your mind. But like Tyrone said, I did not mean to say that I sit in my pajamas and I don't work. I work, and so you put your time in just like with any business, but then the network starts to come in. You don't ever stop, but as time goes on, you continue. You're able. So
you're either buying this for your. You're buying these commodities for yourself through this program. You're selling it to friends and family or coworkers or part of your immediate circle, and you profit from that because you're distributing it to them. But the real key is if you can get others working below you, for you, with you, as part of this expanded organization that you build here.
Sure.
That's the key.
And, most people are just going to be customers, and there will be those that want to build, and so that's perfect. So there's no pressure. You come in wherever you want to come in, and it doesn't even have to be family and friends. This is where I didn't know Tyrone, and Tyrone is amazing.
He's the coach. He's the one that keeps opening our eyes. We keep saying, come on, I've got it, because we're taught the limitations. We're told the limitations in our life here.
Right. Hey, Paul, I paid her to say that. And Don, you were fantastic.
She was perfect.
Matter of fact, I'm going to add a little bit more to the check.
All right, good. All right, so Bullion-S.
I tell you what, though, we're getting close to the end of the show.
Yes.
And like I said, Paul, I wanted to bring Don on because her story is so fascinating.
Well, she did it. She did it in an impossible time period, an impossible situation. She did it. Everybody who's telling me you can't do it.
A lot of big companies have come out of recessions. So if don't let this stop any of you guys. You can flip everything upside down, even if it's in bad times. This is when real entrepreneurs step to the table.
Exactly. Hey, and I just want our listeners to know, again, if they want any more information towards this, or they can always go to closingthewealthgap.net if they want to listen to the show again, or just go to closingthewealthgap.info and just send me a text message, send me a contact link, send me your information. And again, I'll be more than happy to connect you and Don. And, again, like I said, I call it currency insurance. It's something that's needed right now more so than ever because a lot of people, they don't know how they're going to make ends meet. And it's a scary time for a lot of people. And it doesn't have to be. It doesn't.
Thank you for, again, opening our eyes to one way and bringing a real-life example. This isn't a theoretical exercise here. This is somebody who, just like us, faced a challenge, overcame it, and has built a business around network marketing. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming on.
Thank you, Don.
Well,
thanks, Paul.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. There's two groups of people in the world, the haves and the have-nots. And you have the opportunity to decide which one you want to be. Whatever your background, whatever your limitations, whatever you think's holding you back, listen carefully to this show. There are people just like you every day closing the wealth gap. Right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OCTalkRadio.net.